From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Quito, Ecuador, I'm Carla Gonzalez, and this is From the South. We start in Antigua and Barbuda, where voting is underway to choose a new government. Prime Minister Gaston Brown called this general election a year ahead of the constitutional deadline. More than 51,000 voters are eligible to cast their ballots. 168 polling stations open at 6 in the morning and will close at 6 in the evening. Voters from the sister island of Barbuda are casting their votes in Antigua for the first time. There are 7 political parties and 5 independents standing for the 17 seats in parliament. The main fight is between the ruling Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, or ABLP, and the main opposition United Progressive Party, also known as UPP.
I think it's a point which was raised.
My colleague Soyini Gray is at a polling station in Antigua and Barbuda and brings us the latest.
Okay, so we're here in Gambles in Antigua in the St. John City East constituency at the Princess Margaret Secondary School, which has been converted to a polling station because today is election day in Antigua. Polls opened at 6 a.m. this morning and they will stay open until 6 p.m. When I was talking to the returning officer earlier, she said that there's been a steady flow of people, but it's way too early in the morning to even get a feel of what the interest has been like, whether voter turnout will be high, low, or the normal percentage. So the process for voting, we're inside the polling station, the process for voting is very simple. You come in, you make sure your name is on the list, and an electoral officer will take you through the process, which at its most basic is they literally tell you how to make your selection. They give you the polling card, you select your they tell you that you need to select your choice, how to make your mark on the ballots, and when you are to dip your finger in the electoral ink, because that is what it stains, the electoral ink stains, and that is what tells any other polling station that you may attempt to go to that you have already voted and should not be allowed. So that is what elections are like so far in Antigua and Barbuda. The process has been very smooth, but we are going to go to some other polling stations throughout the day to get a feel of what the island is like under election footing. So that's it for me, Soyini Gray, reporting for teleSUR English here in beautiful Antigua.
And now let's take a closer look at what is at stake at the Antigua and Barbuda elections. Prime Minister Gaston Brown is the leader of the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party. He's been Prime Minister since 2014. He called elections early. They weren't due until next year. His party is the only one contesting all 17 seats, and he is the favorite to win. Harold Lovell is a former finance minister who's now heading the opposition United Progressive Party. This will be his first contest as political leader. The UPP is contesting 16 seats and has formed an alliance with the Barbuda People's Movement to contest the 17th. He's accused of raising borrowing while a minister. Joanne Masaya is a former Minister of Agriculture and former member of the UPP. She broke away and formed the Democratic National Alliance in 2017. She's an attorney by profession and a strong advocate for women's rights. Her party is contesting 13 seats. There are approximately 51,500 registered voters on both islands. Before the polls open, we asked Prime Minister Brown for his take on these elections.
Well, I have no doubt. Even before the press conference today, they would have heard me, and I'm pretty sure that the Labour Party will win the next general elections. The issue is not about whether or not we're going to win. The question is how badly we're going to defeat our opponents. In fact, I'm of the view that we're likely to get all the seats, so we could well end up with a clean sweep, but at a minimum, a landslide victory. They have to be taught a lesson. We've had a very destructive opposition here that has actually utilized this scorched earth policy. They want to burn the entire country into ashes to become king of the ashes. And as far as I'm concerned, the people of Antigua and Barbuda need to teach them a lesson. And it has to be a lesson of complete rejection so that they can reform themselves and come back as a more viable opposition, one that perhaps will be equipped to run the country. In fact, they have also presented the people of Antigua and Barbuda a number of incompetent and criminal elements who clearly do not have the capacity to govern. So it is important that a very staunch message, a very stern message be sent by the people of Antigua and Barbuda to the UPP party.
Antigua and Barbuda is an idyllic twin island nation in the Caribbean, with a population of 100,000 persons scattered across 108 kilometers. It is no surprise that the country's main economic driver is tourism.
We have lovely beaches, we have lovely hotels, and we have lovely people down here, so that's basically much it for Antigua.
Climate change has created a very dangerous reality for the Caribbean, which is why Prime Minister Gaston Brown says he wants Antigua and Barbuda to become a climate-resilient country. There are several political parties vying for the attention of the public, but the race is really between the governing Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party and its main rival, the United Progressive Party.
I think our labor codes were upgraded to accommodate storms of that strength. I think since Irma, because Irma was like a mega storm, that we now probably have to think of ways to upgrade them. And our Prime Minister has already spoke about ways we're going to go forward with doing things like that. There isn't anything we can do to fight Mother Nature. The only thing we can do is to be as prepared as we possibly can be. And I think that we're already on course for that.
Prime Minister Gaston Brown remains convinced that the ABLP is the party that will serve the people best. During his final pre-election press conference, he explained how, in their 3.5 years in power, they were able to repay some of their most onerous debts.
Today, I am pleased to confirm that we have given instructions to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank today to make the final payment to the IMF. It's a payment of $12 million EC dollars, which will retire that $320 million loan in its entirety.
The Prime Minister says his administration practices fiscal responsibility, not austerity, and that means more money to allow for a better quality of life for people.
I used to be with the UPP, but because of their wickedness and their evilness, I have to run left them and join this party. And since I joined this party, trust me, red mean bread, so I'm well taken care of. Thank you.
The Caribbean Development Research Service, or CARGES, has predicted a win for the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is predicting that his ABLP will take all 17 seats in the Parliament.
On election day, the people of Antigua and Barbuda told us they have two very main important concerns. One, are they going to stay with the Gaston Brown-led Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, or are they going to choose hope, which is what the United Progressive Party say they offer? Because they say the government is not hearing their concerns and is not responding to their cries. So we're going to see what choices the people have to make on election day. But right now, that's it for me. Sweeney Gray here in Antigua and Barbuda for teleSUR English.
Members of Congress in Peru are calling on President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski to step down immediately before an impeachment vote on Thursday. This after videos were released on Tuesday, allegedly showing the government trying to buy votes against the impeachment.
Hoy día hemos visto otra vez un modelo de práctica.
There is no high-level official that represents the government and could make this kind of offer, which we ignore and do not accept. There is no monetary grant which used to happen in Montesino's era. They are boastful talks.
Esto es una emboscada montesinista.
This is a Montesinista ambush, and we have to be extra clear. They are trying to ruin President Kuczynski at any rate, and we cannot permit it. We cannot fall to the miserable level of political management.
Our correspondent Jaime Herrera has more from Lima.
Muchas gracias por el pase. En efecto,
The impeachment of President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski might be taking place today instead of tomorrow. This is because of yesterday's videos, which allegedly show the government trying to buy votes from some politicians against the impeachment, something that has sparked the rejection of various congressmen who had said they would vote in favor of Kuczynski. We are talking about 7 congressmen of Progreso Alliance, 2 of the Aprista party, and 3 congressmen who are part of the government's party. They have asked Kuczynski to step down before the voting tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Congress has called for an extraordinary session of the speakers to evaluate if what is planned to take place tomorrow can take place today. 87 votes are needed in Congress for the impeachment of Kuczynski on grounds of moral incapacity. At the moment, more than 95 votes have been promised.
Even before those videos were released, there were accusations that supporters of President Kuczynski had offered lawmakers public work projects in exchange for help in defeating his impeachment.
2 days before the congressional vote that appears set to remove President Kuczynski from power, congressmen from FtS Popular say they have received offerings of bribes from the government in exchange for votes against the presidential impeachment proceedings.
This is evident. They are offering me contracts in exchange for my vote.
The first time he came here personally and then insisted on the phone, but he said he was testing me.
FtS Popular claim that the people behind this are congressmen linked to Kenji, Alberto Fujimori's younger son, who also offered cash for votes.
They first approached some members of Congress and offered $200,000, as well as contracts. But in the phone calls to ministers, they didn't mention the money, obviously, because they could be recorded.
Some say these are the same strategies used during Fujimori's dictatorship. While Congress states that votes will be allocated in blocks or individually, people in the streets keep protesting against the Peruvian political class.
Take them all out. All of them have robbed the same.
Which one will come after PPK? It's going to be the same. We will be worse.
This is a mafia. They want all the money and power just to waste it for themselves.
With Congress due to vote on March 22nd,
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting. Welcome back. We go to Brazil, where more demonstrations took place on Wednesday throughout the country in honor of a slain councilwoman, Marielle Franco. Thousands took to the streets in Franco's hometown of Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo. Marielle Franco was a leader in a number of simultaneous struggles on the front line, fighting against racism, poverty, gender violence, and against all forms of oppression. She was shot dead last Wednesday alongside Anderson Gomez in what her supporters believe was an execution. Citizens are demanding justice.
Until we know who is to blame, the mobilization must continue, so that all these values that Marielle advocated for will continue to be in the public eye, so that people defend the ideals she thought were right. This fight will certainly not stop here.
Our correspondent Ignacio Lemos brings us more details on this tragic story.
There were demonstrations in 23 Brazilian municipalities from 16 states to demand justice after the assassination of Marielle Franco 1 week ago, and to also pay tribute to her legacy. She was a feminist leader, an activist for the rights of persons of color and those living in the favelas. Here in Sao Paulo, a religious ceremony was held alongside a cultural and political celebration to denounce the military intervention decreed by Michel Temer. The protests claimed that the death of Marielle should not be used to justify this measure, neither by the Brazilian government nor. Brazilian President Michel Temer has said that the murder of Marielle Franco is proof that the militarization of Rio's favelas is needed. There is growing criticism against the president, as the police are going to help the army in the ongoing demonstration. This criticism comes as the bullets that killed Marielle were found to belong to the police. So there's a lot of controversy regarding their role in the assassination. In Brazil, on average, 23 black youth and 12 women are killed every day. So this crime has united two deprived sectors in this society, the ones that most suffer from the effects of neoliberalism and capitalism that attack the basic rights of the people. Today, masses are being held throughout the country to honor the feminist and Afro leader Marielle Franco.
That was Ignacio Lemos from Sao Paulo. Also in Brazil, 400 women have been arrested in São Lourenço, in the southeastern state of Minas Gerais, while demonstrating against water privatization. The women were protesting right in front of the as the company has interests in Brazilian water exploitation. Early this year, Michel Temer and Nestlé president Paul Volck met to discuss the exploitation of the Guarani aquifer, a water reserve that covers Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. The Attorney General's office in Colombia has sent to the Supreme Court copies of an investigation into Senator Alberto Castilla's alleged link with the ELN guerrillas. Castilla is a member of the Alternative Democratic Pole Party.
Senator Alberto Castilla says he only learned of the investigation from the media.
It's a letter sent by the prosecutor's office to the Supreme Court of Justice, which I heard about through the media on Friday. This has generated a whole situation and stirred up public opinion in the country. What should happen is that the court, which receives the information from prosecutors, should assess the documents and act accordingly.
The congressman considers this legal action to be political persecution. As a representative of the left in Congress, Castilla has raised debates over land tenure and taken a strong position on the implementation of the Havana Peace Accords.
But attention has also been drawn to the fact that during the same week, some parliamentarians of the Alternative Democratic Pole signed a letter calling on Gustavo Petro and Sergio Fajardo, together with Humberto de la Calle, to hold talks to allow a united project, a grand coalition to govern Colombia.
Colombia has seen a number of other unsuccessful legal proceedings, such as those against opposition leaders Piedad Córdoba and Gustavo Petro, among others.
Now we are concerned about this Attorney General, who everyone knows is a man who has been linked to big business in this country. And we are concerned about the repeated public allegations that condemn people before public opinion. And everything seems to indicate that these are without any substantive evidence.
César Jerez was also a victim of such allegations due to his involvement in social movements in the Catatumbo region, where Senator Castilla is also from. Jerez believes that the investigations are an attack on the social movements.
Meanwhile, the severity of the situation in the Catatumbo is ignored. A war between the ELN and the EPL with dozens of victims to this day, the breach of the agreements with the FARC in that region, but also of the agreements coming out of the peasant strike in 2013 and the year immediately before that, which all sought precisely to improve the situation of structural exclusion and address the issue of violence suffered people in the Catatumbo.
For analysts, the current actions of the prosecution show the systematic persecution facing social leaders who seek transformation in Colombia and who have chosen the political path. Senator Alberto Castilla says he is calm and willing to abide by whatever the Supreme Court of Justice requires at any time.
teleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia. Venezuela has the fourth largest gold reserve in the world. The country's Minister of Communications, Jorge Rodriguez, has announced that the mine, located in the southeastern state of Bolívar, contains an estimated gold reserve of over 1 million kilograms.
The company Gold Research has confirmed the reports about the gold reserve. This is not being made up. It's real. Gold Research certifies this finding in an area of 6 kilometers by 1 kilometer in the Orinoco mining arc. It has the fourth largest gold mine in the world. This mine is going to give us new resources. It has almost 1,500 tons of gold. Just so you have an idea, this means over $66 billion just in this little mine. This means over $66 billion just in that little mine.
The 17th International Informatica 2018 convention is taking place in Cuba this week. Events like this highlight the country's technological innovation and show how much Cuba prioritizes technological advancement.
The latest breakthroughs in Cuba going digital can be seen this week at the 17th Expo Fair Informatica 2018 being held in Havana. One of the aims of this international convention is to encourage people.
For us, the concept of technological sovereignty is included within the politics of digitalization. Advancement in this matter for our society means to also advance in the cybersecurity of our space in the internet environment.
Aiming at sustainable development, Informatica 2018 is the place where people can get to know more about Cuba's collective effort to achieve technological independence.
One of our flagship products is the Nova operating system, which is the Cuban distribution of GNU Linux, which has allowed us to start from the alliances with the Cuban electronic industry that our operating system is that installs on the computers, laptops and desktops that are assembled in the industry.
The Cuban electronics industry is concentrating on providing more secure and safe programs that open the way to both software and hardware made in Cuba.
We are proud of already having high-end computer products in the country. We already have i5, i7, 6th generation last year and this year. We are planning to work on the 7th generation produced in Cuban facilities in addition to Cuban operating system.
The development of the national industry of informatical and technological applications is part of the computerization process.
Break now. Join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues report. Welcome back. British data analytics firm Cambridge Analytica and social media company Facebook are at the center of a huge controversy after media reports claim that they breached privacy data of 50 million users. Lawmakers in the US and Europe have called for an investigation into the two companies. Cambridge Analytica is best known for assisting the 2016 presidential campaign of US President Donald Trump. The data mining company, through a quiz on Facebook, harvested user data to build voter profiles for US and UK political ad campaigns. There has been no response from Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Now let's have a look at some other headlines from around the world.
A suicide bomber has killed around 30 people and injured over a dozen in Kabul, Afghanistan. The bomber blew himself up near a Shiite shrine where hundreds of people had gathered to celebrate the Persian New Year, Nowruz. Shia Muslims are a minority in the country and attacks on them have increased in recent years. The Islamic State militants have claimed the bombing. In another fierce attack, at least 36 people have been killed in the suburb of Syrian capital Damascus by a rocket strike. The attack hit a busy marketplace. According to the Syrian state media Sana, the attack was carried out by the rebels. In another deadly bombing attack in eastern Ghouta, around 40 people were killed. The government has been trying to bring the rebels to the negotiating table and put an end to the years of fight in Syria. But so far, both sides haven't found consensus.
I was standing next to the pharmacy and the rocket came down, first hitting the building and then coming down into the market and on the street. Civilians and children here died. The scenes were just simply, may God punish them.
A suspect in a wave of bombing attacks in the US city of Austin has killed himself. The suspect has been identified by the police as a 23-year-old male. He blew an explosive device inside his car when the police closed in on him. The police were investigating the 5th bomb attack in Austin in the last 18 days. In the latest incident on Tuesday, 2 packages exploded at 2 different FedEx sorting centers in and around the city.
And in the UK, a newborn polar bear cub has captured the nation's hearts. It is the first polar cub born in 25 years in the country. Recent videos from the Highline Wildlife Park in Scotland shows the cub exploring its enclosure along with her mother. The cub has not been named yet, and its gender is also not known. The baby bear was born in December last year, but remained inside her den with her mom till now. And we've come to the end of this news brief. This and many other stories, you can find them on our website, telesurtv.net/English. And you can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.